Well, it's a pretty full book nowadays, John. It's a very fulfilling book, obviously in no order of priority, but family first. Wife and 3 kids growing up. Business-wise, running a company called Premium Brands Group, which is a small marketing branding business, which is a niche area of the world. We concentrate on connection and collaboration between leading brands, and that takes a lot of my time. That, fortunately for me, has spawned a number of other interests outside, which was part of the strategy behind building a community of companies to service. So I'm heavily involved in the renewable energy space and in property and some information technology programs. So it's a bit of a broad and interesting menu of interest nowadays, but that's how I like it. Business is good, as I said, it's diverse, but that was how I always wanted it to be. It's to not use the word flippantly, but it's a dynamic environment. My daily existence is wearing a few different hats, and some would find that a little bit too daunting or overwhelming or even inappropriate in business to have diverse interests. But for me, it keeps me alive and keeps me waking up every morning really enthused about the day ahead, and I love it. And because I'm not just working locally now and in a very domestic business environment, I'm working on global projects, and to me that has revitalised me over the last 12 months. We have secured exclusive rights in certain parts of the world to a very exciting application called microwave technology. So it's using microwave frequencies to break down waste. It's a zero emission technology, it's a highly profitable technology, and it's a very new one. So as I sit here today, it's only in pilot phase. So we've been doing a lot of the groundwork in our regions, which include the Middle East and India. And so at this point in time, it's just what I said it was, an exciting technology, an exciting application, but it's a very interesting field. We've got so many parts of the world crying out for good solutions to how to deal with waste, both on a municipal level, whether it's tyres, whether it's dirty coal, whether it's oil. So it's an exciting space to be playing in. Well, it's been critical. I mean, if you wanted to reflect on what sport teaches you, it teaches you so much about yourself. So you can't get out of bed on any given day and pretend to be anyone that you're not. So we're not deluded. If you're going to survive in sport, first and foremost, you know where your strengths are, you know where your weaknesses are, and you work on your weaknesses, but you certainly leverage your strengths, because that's what's going to make you or separate you from the opposition and your competitors. But it teaches you all those other great qualities, your commitment, your discipline. So I tend, although I've got a number of things on my radar in business, I tend to be very disciplined and focused on what needs to be done and then executing that. Bouncing into the next contest is what football taught me. You might take a knock or make a mistake, but it's quickly responding and getting on to the next one. So it's not about labouring the negative, it's about learning from it and moving through it. And I think one of the big things that sport taught me was persistence. I just know how to soldier on. I think that's one of my strengths. It's there's so many things in small business that will, smack you around the chops and probably suggest that you should say, well, it's too hard and move on to something else that's easier. Maybe even go get a job and have the security of an income. But for me, I like to persist through things. I really believe in it, then I'll work through it. And finally, the big thing that sport taught me was perspective. And my perspective lies around, well, my most important thing in my world is my wife and my kids. And that's the pivot, and everything works around that. I started a long time ago. I bought my first business when I was 19. So I had a serious knee injury when I was a young bloke, and I thought, gee, I'm not bulletproof. So I thought I was at 19. I thought, things were going well. I was kicking a lot of goals, and people seemed to like me for reasons unbeknown to me. But then it all, in a flash, comes crashing down, and you realise, well, I can't rely on football. So I bought a business. It was a health club, and interestingly for me, the motivation behind that was, well, I can rehabilitate my knee every day I go to work. I started to really appreciate, if I'm going to actually be at the forefront of this business and its marketability revolved around me, then I had to ensure that I was marketable and that I presented myself well to the market. So that was my first experience with that, and profile and the importance of it, and the assessment people make of you, the perception they have of you, because they'll buy you at the end of the day. And subsequent to that, it's about, well, what benefit am I getting out of this association with Paul? And it was all the health, and I thought that was very important, very positive. Then it became, just unfolded itself or unraveled itself into, understanding what my brand was, what I wanted to stand for, not to make it too overcomplicated, but it taught me a lot of things very young. I was very fortunate that I was learning this as a 20, 22, 23-year-old and not a 35-year-old who's on his way out. So I started to align myself with brands that I thought stood for something really positive. Well, the short answer to the question is one word: it's critical. There's no question about that. But it's always a fine balance between where you prioritise what's critical and what drives sport. But sponsorship is just that. It comes back to what I was just talking about brand alignment and the fit for the club or the organisation and the company. So it's becoming increasingly so, and companies are becoming increasingly astute, as they should be, at getting a return on their investment for that sponsorship. Well, look, I don't profess to be an expert in this area, first and foremost, but I think the successful relationships I saw in sponsorships is where the sponsor really embraced the club, really embraced the culture of the club, and really embraced all elements, all levels of the football club. So it wasn't just about the branding, and it wasn't just about the corporate placement. It was understanding and building relationships with players that weren't necessarily commercial, building relationships with supporters, volunteer groups, really immersing the brand into the business of the sporting club. And that then became a very natural thing. None of the sponsorship and the value of it was necessarily about, where, is that signage in the right spot on the ground, which is very important. But it was an immersion that I thought really worked for the sponsors of the two teams I played for, Essendon and Hawthorn. So the future for me is to continue to drive forward on what I'm really passionate about at the moment in this renewable energy space, in the property, in opportunity. I've got a lot better at identifying good opportunity and dispersing the waste, which there is so many you can get so easily distracted by, and I've got better at that because every day presented opportunity to me, and it's early days so hard to say no and say they can wait. No, I'd explore it, not explore it, and I just got better through that process. It was probably an important process to go through, but I just got better at sorting the wheat from the chaff. So the future for me, in summary, John, is just about taking opportunities that I'm passionate about, but taking them to the line. And where I'm going to be in 10 years' time, I can't sit here and pretend to know, because I didn't know 2 years ago that I'd be sitting in front of sultans in the Middle East, or some of the richest people in the world out of India talking about renewable energy. Ask me that 2 years ago, I would have had a great laugh at your expense. But there I am doing it now. It's invigorating, and I love Premium Brands Group, so I'd like to see that do some special things over the next few years. But the big answer is who knows. But I'm excited by it. Celebrating a premiership, I'd like to think, and I'll be in the stands on my feet singing the club song with them, mate. It'd be a fantastic thing just to even tease yourself that we might do that this year, but who knows? And the Bombers are working their way towards the next one in the next few years. So my utopia in football was to be sitting down in 2011, 2012 watching Hawthorn and Essendon play off in the grand final, not knowing who the hell to barrack for on the day.